Hi everyone, so this is the network packet sniffing and spoofing demo. So before starting the demo part, I'd like to briefly talk about what are the use cases of packet sniffing and spoofing thing, and what kind of tools we can use to capture and analyze these network packets. For example, we know about Wireshark, so we'll talk about Wireshark. Then what are the different kind of raw packets that we can capture, and then how can we automatically capture these things without any specialized tools. Then finally we'll talk about the Nmap security scanner tool. So what is Nmap and how we can use Nmap. So I'll discuss that first. Then finally I'll show you the demo of all these tools like this Wireshark or Nmap, and I'll show you examples how we can automate the packet capturing thing or the security scanning thing using programs. So this packet sniffing thing is extremely useful in network forensics, network traffic monitor, and network troubleshooting, but it also useful for attackers to perform the man-in-the-middle attack to hijack TCP data, for example the TCP sequence number, leak protocol information, and gain insights about the infrastructure of an organization. And the common way to do all this task is to first capture the raw traffic data, then decode the raw traffic data according to the protocol specification, and finally analyzing each of the raw traffic data. So the common tools that we can use, common tools and libraries that we can use is Wireshark, TCP-dump, networks, SCAPI, and pickup. So this SCAPI and pickup are libraries and the rest are like tools. And the format that we use to store this raw traffic data is pickup. So this is a universal format, so you can store your raw traffic data using this format, and all the tools and libraries can recognize that format, so you can load this pickup data using these tools or libraries. Now, as I said, Wireshark is one of the widely used packet analyzer tools and packet capturing tools. So it is like widely available and free, and it's available in all the major operating systems. So when you can just go ahead and install it in your system. So once you install it and open it and start capturing packets, you'll see a window something like this. So this window has a lot of information. So I'll discuss some of this information when I'll show you the demonstration. Now, when we capture packets using Wireshark or whatever tools, we'll capture them according to the protocol specification. For example, we'll see how the HTTP how the packets are turned into HTTP, and what kind of UDP packets we are receiving, what are the ICMP packets. So we'll see the packets based on this protocol information, and this protocol are like different for different layers. For example, if we consider the OSI model, we'll see the application has the HTTP, DNS, DHCP, FTP, and some other application layer specific protocols. Well, we see that the TCP UDP is in the transport layer, and the ICMP that we have just discussed is the protocol in the network layer. So each layer has different protocol, and we recognize the network packets based on their protocol. So I'll show you this information when we capture packets using Wireshark. Okay, so when you use Wireshark to capture packets, we actually do some mouse clicks and some buttons in that Wireshark tool, because it's a graphical user interface tool. But if you'd like to automate this process, let's say we would like to count all the packets that we have captured in last hours. So in order to do it in Wireshark, we need to like manually count all the packets. But if we could somehow use these packets using program, and if we could count using program, that would be a great like that we can do a lot faster than just manually counting all these packets. So Escape is one of such library which allow us to capture these packets using program. So, and Escape is for Python, so we can write Python codes and we can call the Escape APIs to capture packets. Then we can just process those capture packets. For example, we can count them, we can sort them, whatever. So we can do a lot more things in programmatically than just manually doing in Wireshark. A similar library is also existing for C, which is the pcap library. So if you write code in C, you can use pcap library. And the final thing is the Nmap. So Nmap is a security scanning tool. So basically, if you know the IP address of a host machine, if you give Nmap that IP address as an input, it can basically tell you what kind of operating system the host is using, what is the version number, what kind of ports are open in the host, and host are listening to this to those ports. So all this information Nmap can provide you. So basically Nmap is a great tool to discover vulnerable libraries or protocols, all these things. And Nmap has a command line. Nmap is a command line tools, but you can also use programs to do all these things. So similar to Escape, Nmap has also a Python library called Python Nmap. So we can use this Python library in our Python code to do this task automatically using programs. So I'll show you an example of that program as well. Okay, so let's move to the demo. Okay, so let's talk about the Wireshark thing first. So in order to install Wireshark in a Linux machine, for example in this Ubuntu, you need to issue sudo apt get install Wireshark. So that will install the Wireshark. For my case, I have already installed it, so it didn't install it. So in order to run Wireshark, you need to issue sudo Wireshark command. So remember to use the sudo, because otherwise due to the permission restrictions, certain feature will not be available. So just make sure you use sudo before Wireshark to open it. So once we open it, we'll see some window, something like this. So these are all the interfaces, network interfaces. That means the network card interface, Bluetooth interface, or some other hardware interfaces. It will show you all the interfaces here. Now it will not showing all the details information. So if you would like to get all the details information, you need to click on this capture and option. So it will show you then the related other information. Like for this case, this interface is related to the Ethernet. So basically the LAN. So we'll use this interface to capture all the packets. So basically when we hit start, it will start capturing all the packets that are going through the Ethernet cable. That means the Ethernet hardware, like the interface, and all the packets that are coming through that interface. So if we click start, it will soon start capturing the packets. Now see, it start capturing the packets. Now in the slides, I showed you the protocols. So as you can see, there are different kind of protocols like the TCP, UDP, the TLS, the SSHTP, UDP, and so on. So if you would like to see some HTTP packets here, we can apply some filter. Let's type HTTP here. So if we select HTTP and click on this right arrow button, it will filter the HTTP packets. Now we don't see any HTTP packets because there is no HTTP communication here. So let's make an HTTP request here. So if I just reload this link here, this is not HTTPS, so this is HTTP. So if we reload it, we should see some HTTP here. So you can see we are seeing the HTTP packets. So if we click on these HTTP packets, we can see this is the hypertext transfer protocol, which is basically the HTTP protocol. So you can click on this arrow to see details information. Now these packets, before being HTTP, it was the TCP first. So the HTTP before being HTTP packet, it was the transport layers packet. Then before that it was the internet protocol packets. Then before that it was the data layer packets, and before that it was the raw stream. So you can click the status or the encapsulation of these packets in different layers. So in transmission control protocol or TCP layer, you can see all the port information. In internet layer protocol, you can see all the IP address. For example, in this case the source is my machine, the destination is this machine. So you can see all these things. In Ethernet layer, you can see the MAC address. So this is the source MAC, this is the destination MAC. So you can get a whole lot information by browsing this Wireshark captured packets. Okay, so let's look into some other packets. For example, let's look into the ICMP packets, and just write the ICMP here and apply the filter by just clicking on this apply display filter, and we see no packets because there is no ICMP packets here. And now let's generate some ICMP packets. So in order to do that, let's first look into the IP address of my machine. So this host machine. So this is the IP address of this machine. Now I will use that IP address, and from this virtual machine I will issue the ping this IP address. So basically this ping command will generate the ICMP request. So if I click, so let's open the Wireshark first, sorry, and this browser, if I hit enter, we start seeing some ICMP packets. And if I kill this program, we see it, the packets, incoming packets just stop. So this is the way we can just get different kind of packets using Wireshark. Now I'll show you an practical example how you can use Wireshark to get some meaningful information. Now to do that, I'll log into this virtual machine using Telnet. So the Telnet protocol is not secured. So when attackers capture some network packets using Wireshark or whatever tool, they can get some insights from those packets. So in this case, the IP address of this virtual machine is 192.168.0.106. So I can use this IP address to log in from my host machine. So I can use the Telnet and write down the IP address. So before that, let me just refresh this packet. So I can stop it and rerun the packet capturing thing. So it says continue with save, continue without saving, or cancel. I just hit continue without saving. Okay, and I'll change the display filter to Telnet, so that I can monitor all the Telnet packets. So if I apply this filter, so I don't see any Telnet packets here. Now if I hit enter here, that means it will start communicating with my virtual machine using this Telnet protocol. So it asking the username of this virtual machine, and we know that username is seed and the password is this. Okay, so we're able to log in into this virtual machine. Now if we go back into our Wireshark, just stop capturing packets here. Now if we start from the end and if we look into the telnet protocol, we see this is the message that our virtual machine gave us. So this is the message here. If we select the previous on and go to the telnet, we see all the messages from here. So if we click all the other field, we will see different kind of packets that the telnet protocol sent. Now at some point, if we just right click and use the follow and TCP stream, we'll see it can show us all the information, like the seed, it's typed some characters twice, but we can see the username seed is available from here, and the password this is also, we can see it. So basically from this raw captured data we can see all the like some useful information. Like in this case it's a very sensitive information, which is the username and password. Now instead of using telnet, if I use the SSAs and capture these packets, let's see if we can capture some meaningful information from the captured packets or not. So the SSAs is encrypted, so theoretically we should not able to get any meaningful information from these packets. So let's try that. So I exit that, clear it. So instead of telnet I will use SSAs and the username is seed. So if we click enter, it asking for the password. The password is DEES. So now we're able to log in into the virtual machine using SSAs. Now if we filter these communication packets using SSAs and we start from the last one, and this is in order to stop the packet capturing, we click stop. So if we start from the last one, we see for SSH protocol it's encrypted and we are not getting like meaningful information. And if we click some point and click the follow TCP stream, we see some like random text here and some encryption protocol and encryption mechanism, but we don't see any meaningful information. So so that also help us understanding when we can get meaningful information and when we will not get meaningful information. So that is how we can use Wireshark to capture different kind of packets. Okay, so the next thing that I would like to show you is the program that we can use to automatically capture the packets. So in this case I am using the sample program from the demo specification. I'll share the link of the demo specification at the end of the slide. But let me open the demo program so that you can take a look. So in this demo program I'm using the we are using the Scapy library. So we are just importing everything from the Scapy. Then we are using the sniff function, which is basically an API from this Scapy library. So if we give the filter as ICMP and pass as a function, which is a callback kind of function, and so then every time we see some ICMP packets, this program will show the packet information. Now in order to use this program we need to install the Scapy library. So in order to install the Scapy library we need to issue this command. So sudo pip3 install Scapy. So In my case, the escape is already installed, so it says the requirement already satisfied. But in your case, it will doing something in order to install the escape library. Now, in order to run this program, we first need to give the program executable permission. So in order to do that, we need to use sudo chmod then +x icmp. So that this program is now executable. Now when you run this program, you need to use the sudo, because otherwise it won't be able to capture the packets. So sudo python icmp.py. so if you enter, it will wait for capturing the packets. Now as it's not receiving any icmp packets, so we know that how to generate the icmp packets. We generated in the previous demo. So in order to do that, we just need to issue the ping command. So if we hit enter, that means it will issue the, it will generate some icmp packets, and then our program will able to capture those packets. So you see, it's now receiving the icmp packets. Okay. So we learned how to capture the icmp packets. Now if we just stop this program, if we open the icmp, now if we would like to capture a different kind of packet, let's say would like to capture TCP, so we just can write TCP here and rerun the program again. Now TCP, so this machine is always communicating something using TCP, so you see some TCP packets here. So you saw one packets, you saw another one, so it will come and go. So you'll see, if you just wait for some times, you will see some TCP packets. Okay, so this is how we can programmatically capture the packets. Now in this program, we just show the packet information, but you can do some other operations, like you can extract some field from the packets, you can count all the packets, and you can do whatever functionality you would like to achieve. So this is how we can use escape library to run programs and capture packets. Now we can explore the documentation of the escape library to see what kind of other functionality does this library offer. So if you do some project based on this kind of network packet analysis thing, then definitely you can read the documentation. Okay, so the last thing that I would like to show you is the Nmap. So in order to install Nmap, you need to issue sudo apt-get install nmap, this command, so it will install Nmap. So in my case, I have already installed Nmap, so I don't need to do anything. So in order to start Nmap, or in order to see all the options that Nmap offer, you just type sudo nmap. So it will display all the options that you can use using Nmap. So basically the uses is you need to type the Nmap, then some scan types, what kind of scan you would like to get, whether it's a protocol scan or the port scan, all these things. Then you can apply some options, and you can do the target, which is basically the host information. So there are plenty of options here. You can read all these things you would like, but let's move into the example part, because here you can see some real example how to use Nmap. Now one thing I just need to make sure that please don't use any host IP without permission, because that might create some issue. For example, if you'd like to scan some machine from the CS department, you need to get the permission. So don't arbitrarily place any host ID to scan using Nmap. So in order to like play with this Nmap, so this Nmap tool developers give us this domain, which is basically would map to an IP address, so you can use this domain to play with it. So for example, in our case, you would like to use this command to see what kind of output it can provide us. So if we hit enter, it will start scanning that particular domain, which is basically mapped to a particular IP address. And this A is basically showing it will give us the OS version, the script scanning, and the trace route. So we'll see all this information once the scanning is finished. Okay, so we see the scan has been finished, and we can see the trace route information. Basically, you can see that the request started somewhere. The request started from my host machine, so the machine has IP address 192.168.0.100.07, but the gateway is .01. So it's starting from this gateway, then it goes through something from this blacksburg.va.comcast. So I'm using Comcast internet, so it goes through this IP address, then it's at some point it going through Ashburn, then the final request, I think it's the server is in San Jose, so this particular domain, the server is hosted in somewhere in San Jose. So from San Jose we are getting the response from our request. So in this way you can like get the information of trace route, but you can use some other tool to get this information as well. Instead of using Nmap, you can use other tool like the Linux has a trace route command, so you can do that as well. Now the cool information is the port. So basically what kind of port are open in a host, Nmap can show us that information. For this case, we see only this 9929, this port is open for this nping -echo service, and 3 on 337 is open for this TCP route, and both of this port is running the TCP protocol. So you can get all these open port information. You can get some other information as well. So you can just look into all these options that are available and can play with it. So there are some research paper on this that use this Nmap to find vulnerable libraries, vulnerable operating system, all these things. So you can just use it in your research purpose. Okay, now so this is the like basic uses of it. You can try some other combination of commands to see what kind of output you can get, and remember to using this scanme.nmap.org or this IP address, and don't arbitrarily choose any IP address, because that is not allowable. So you have to get permission before using any IP address. Now again, this is a terminal based tool, but if you'd like to do everything programmatically, you can do that. And in order to do that, you just need to install the Python library that I showed you in the presentation. So in order to install that, you just need to issue pip3 install python nmap. So in my case, I have already installed it. So let me open the program that where we can use this Python nmap library. So it is protoscan. So here you see I am using the nmap library, and I'm using the port scanner. So basically I would like to scan my own machine, which is localhost, and I would like to scan whether which ports are open in my local host, and I would like to scan from port 1 to 2000, but you can increase this number from 1 to 10,000 or whatever range you would like to prefer. But if you increase the range, it will take longer. Okay, so in order to run this, we just can use a Python proto scan. It will take some time to give you the output. Okay, after waiting roughly 3 minutes, I received this output. So basically I saw two ports are open, which is 630 on and 1716. So for 630 on, it's used by this IPP service, which is the internet printing protocol service, and the 1716, which is basically used by the Xmasses service. Now I realized that I need to type the sudo before Python, so I just killed the other program that I used after some times because I didn't see any output. So then I realized I need to type the sudo command before that. So make sure you type the sudo before typing this, before running this Python code. So this is how you can you can do this kind of scanning thing using programs as well. So you can also browse the documentation of Nmap to see what kind of other APIs are available for use. Again, if you use any of these tools using in your projects, then certainly go ahead and look into the documentation. Okay, so finally so in this slide I just gave you all the commands that I used in the for the installing different kind of tools, and I also give you the code that I used to show you the packet capturing thing, also the network port scanning thing. So hope you get some insights about how we can capture packets, how we can use it, how we can do some research on this, how we can use the Nmap tool to scan different kind of ports. And down the road you can use this scanning tool to scan some vulnerable protocol version, vulnerable host. So you can consider all these things in some of your projects. So that's all for this demo. I hope you learned something. Thank you.